From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Lisa Laporte. Canada is facing serious blowback from China after Ottawa sanctioned 8 Chinese officials last month who were accused of grave human rights violations against ethnic and religious minorities. Chinese state media has repeatedly called out Canada since then over its treatment of Indigenous peoples, claiming Ottawa is being hypocritical. A Canadian senator believes the upcoming G7 meetings in Alberta will be vital for the federal government.
Canada has taken over the presidency of this year's Group of 7, which will see world leaders meet in Kananaskis, Alberta in June. Senator Peter Beam has helped Canada at multiple G7 summits and says this is a key opportunity for the federal government to advance Canada's priorities on a global stage.
I think our participation in the G7 is potentially the jewel in the crown of our foreign policy.
The last time the G7 summit was in Canada was in 2018. David Bowles, The Canadian Press.
An operation to offload thousands of tons of corn from a ship that ran aground in the St. Lawrence River near Montreal has been postponed to the weekend.
The plan had been to start unloading the MV Makoa today, but Fisheries and Oceans Canada says the barges needed to carry the corn are still being readied and have not yet arrived. More than 3,000 metric tons of corn must be offloaded from the ship to help get it floating again so it can resume its course. The Cyprus-flagged 185-meter bulk carrier ran aground near Verchères, Quebec in the early hours of December 24th following a power failure. Attempts so far to refloat the ship have failed. 20 crew members remain on board the vessel, which is deemed to be in stable condition. Giuseppe Valiente, The Canadian Press, Montreal.
A study by Canadian researchers that's published in the journal Science suggests dry forest fuel is the main environmental driver of fire severity in the country. The study looked at fire severity from 1981 to 2020. It found the greatest increase in burn severity days was recorded in an area covering northern Quebec and an area covering Northwest Territories, Northwest Alberta, and Northwest BC, where hot, dry, and windy conditions were more pronounced. And a Canadian rock icon is pulling out of a major European music festival. Here's reporter Dave Packer.
For nobody.
Neil Young won't be playing at Glastonbury this year.
Makes me look like a joke.
The rocker announced on his website that he pulled out of the UK's most prestigious music festival due to the BBC's corporate sponsorship of the event.
Young last performed at Glastonbury in June of 2009. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, Sweden beat Latvia today 3-2 to advance to the semifinals at the World Junior Hockey Championship in Ottawa. Canada takes on Czechia in the quarterfinals tonight. The Toronto Maple Leafs look to sweep a home-and-home series with the Islanders when the teams face off tonight in the NHL. The Leafs beat the Islanders 3-1 in a New Year's Eve matinee in Toronto to move into top spot in the Atlantic Division. Elsewhere, the Ottawa Senators kick off a 3-game road trip in Dallas. Mike Benavides is back as defensive coordinator of the CFL's BC Lions. He previously held the role from 2008 to 2012. Overall, Benavides has spent 14 seasons with the Lions, including 3 seasons as head coach. And the PGA Tour season is underway. Adam Hadwin, Taylor Pendrith, Nick Taylor, and Corey Connors are the Canadians teeing off at the Century in Maui, Hawaii. From the Canadian Press, I'm Lisa Laporte.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.